Welcome back. Former Sustainable Development Minister Dr. James Fletcher says enough action is not being taken to reduce greenhouse gases. According to him, the countries who produce the most emissions are simply not interested in bringing down their numbers.
We've clearly had too many meetings and not enough action. It's almost as if we take some comfort in the fact that we meet and we have these big climate summits. Every year we have this conference of the parties and everybody comes together and spends a very tortuous 2 weeks trying to finesse language and agree on what progress we have made and what progress we will make. Sometimes the progress is very incremental. It's certainly not commensurate with the level of effort and the level of participation in those meetings. There's some parties, some countries that attend these meetings, I think, just to ensure that there's very little progress because it suits them because of the nature of the economy and their reliance on fossil fuels as the major driver of the economy.
Dr. Fletcher hopes that under new stewardship, the United States can make headway in getting other major contributors to keep a limit to warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius.
I can remember when I was chairing the discussions that were looking at the long-term temperature goal for the Paris Agreement. That was during COP21. The head of delegation, the technical head of delegation for one of the countries that is a major emitter of greenhouse gases because it is a major oil supplier, came to me and said to me that you will get 1.5 degrees over my dead body. So, there is very strong resistance to efforts to reduce the emissions of greenhouse gases because that runs counter to the economy of some of these countries. So, there's a lot of interference, there's a lot of pushback from some of these countries. So you're right. I mean, we have had a lot of meetings and the meetings have not caused us to have the kind of progress that we should have. Right now, with the policies and the pledges that are on the table from many of these developed countries, we are on track for somewhere around a 2.6 degrees Celsius warming.
That was former Sustainable Development Minister Dr. James Fletcher. The National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, has received communications equipment, supplies, and training from the World Bank via the Disaster Vulnerability Resilience Program. This is all part of NEMO better positioning itself to communicate effectively during or post-disaster. More in this report from Glenn Simon.
The National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, has increased its communications resilience ahead of the 2021 Atlantic hurricane season. NEMO received technical and financial support from the World Bank via the Disaster Vulnerability Resilience Program, DVRP. Honorable Guy Joseph, Minister for Economic Development, Housing, Urban Renewal, Transport and Civil Aviation, received a presentation from NEMO of the equipment and support provided by the DVRP, which falls under his portfolio.
It is clear that NEMO is making the transition from not just being called a command center to deal with disasters, but being fully prepared themselves to be able to respond, to communicate, and to do all of the necessary things.
NEMO's director, Doreen Gustav, stated that NEMO has received VHF radios and equipment, which have been installed at health facilities, fire and police stations around the island, as well as in secluded, hard-to-reach communities, usually inaccessible during or post a disaster.
We realized that VHF radio communication is one of the most resilient way of communicating post a disaster. And so we knew that we needed to bring it up to par so we can keep that communication line open.
Telecommunications officer with NEMO, Lionel Ellis, noted that over the years, NEMO has suffered from a lack of equipment to truly call its base operations a true emergency center. The new equipment, he says, has enhanced NEMO's communications abilities.
NEMO, I think, and I'm very proud to say, that NEMO is getting to be number one in the Caribbean in terms of disaster preparedness in communications. And I can tell you that because I've worked in a lot of countries and they're not as sophisticated as NEMO St. Lucia. But more so, NEMO has its own network, and the network spans across their island and also to Sidima in Barbados.
The DVRP also provided NEMO with a new vehicle, several electronic tablets capable of sending real-time information from disaster response teams on the ground, an advanced information management system as a central repository for NEMO's information, and an early warning multi-hazard siren system for vulnerable communities.
With this equipment, we are able to network NEMO in a manner that the information that we receive in here can get out to the various media houses, various persons, our donor agencies, in a timely manner.
IT officer with the St. Lucia Fire Service, Trevor Hunt, said the fire service and NEMO will each be provided with a search and rescue drone. These are high-tech drones capable of operating in adverse weather conditions for up to 45 minutes with infrared technology.
So when we look at situations of disasters, for instance, a storm or anything of that sort, the drone would be able to go out there to survey the areas, the affected areas, even with a storm ongoing, and relay live information back to NEMO headquarters so that they can make the best decisions on the situation.
Training will also be provided for up to 15 persons around the island on the proper operations of the drone. Minister Joseph also indicated that the support provided to NEMO must be seen as an important aspect in building the overall resilience of St. Lucia.
To be on the map as one of the countries in the region with one of the most modern technology systems for response to disaster is in itself a great achievement, and I would like to place on record our thanks and appreciation to the World Bank through the DVRP project for the assistance that they have given to NEMO, because sometimes these things are not very visible. All of the things you see behind me there, they are not seen as the visible projects. A nice building is seen, a proper road, and then you get a grand opening. But these are the things that build the backbone to true resilience.
Under the DVRP, NEMO will also receive training and equipment for its community emergency response teams and its damage needs assessment teams. For the National Competitiveness and Productivity Council, Glenn Simon reporting.
The president of the National Students' Council on Friday announced that the organization is working assiduously to ensure that the relationship between itself and its membership continues to improve. He says the National Students' Council has a number of projects that will ensure that the digital literacy levels of its students in St. Lucia increases.
A live panel discussion with students from primary, secondary and tertiary education level to discuss their thoughts and how they have been throughout this whole entire online situation. This, we're looking to execute this on the 30th of March 2021. Next, in April, we are seeking to execute 2 workshops, one on the date of the 7th of April 2021 and the final one on the 24th of April 2021. And these workshops are very, very, would be very engageful, especially in the realm of digital literacy.
The National Students' Council will also be celebrating the achievements of students come April despite the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic.
For the first time, the St. Lucia National Student Council would be hosting National Students Awards. As we do recognize that there isn't going to be any National Youth Awards this year, we are not going to forget our students, and we are going to be hosting a National Students Award.
That was the president of the St. Lucia National Students' Council, Sherwin Alexander. Stay with us. The latest weather report is up next.